I'm Phil Hellmuth Jr. One of the golden rules in poker is don't go broke with just one pair. I mean, don't lose a ton of chips with just one pair. Really, though, the rule is probably better stated as don't go broke with just top pair. In this lesson, we're going to teach you why this rule is so important and how playing smaller pots with just top pair can help keep you out of trouble, off the rail, and oftentimes maximize your profits. Ooh, a dual thing. Lose the minimum, win the maximum by slow playing top pair. Nice. One of the biggest mistakes an inexperienced player can make is to fall in love with their hand and to play it so aggressively that they miss out on useful information that could save them from going broke when they don't need to. This phenomena isn't uncommon and often happens when a player hits just top pair while holding a hand like ace queen or ace jack. So, how do you avoid falling into this trap? Simple. Don't play a bigger pot than you need to. Let's say you're holding a hand like ace queen and the flop comes ace 9-3. No suit. Not too bad, right? Top pair, queen kicker, nice. Second best kicker. Chances are you're ahead here, but what if you're not? Say your opponent is holding ace king, ace ace, ace 9, ace 3, 9-9, or even 3-3. So basically two pair, ace king, a set. All of a sudden, your good-looking ace-queen hand has gone very, very bad, and you become a huge underdog. In fact, if you knew your opponent had one of these hands, you wouldn't waste any time at all in folding it right into the muck. On the other hand, say your opponent is holding a hand like ace-10, king-queen, jack-jack, and you're way ahead. In this case, you want him to stick around as long as possible and put as much money into the pot as possible while he's way behind. So think about that. One more time, I'm going to say the same thing, just so you're clear on it. Slow playing ace-queen in this spot does two things. Lets you maximize your profits and minimize your losses if you're crushed. So, if playing a big pot is the wrong move with just top pair, what are the right moves? Well, if you're in position and you were the pre-flop raiser, you should make a standard continuation bet of about 50 to 60% of the pot if your opponent checks to you. Since you would probably make the same play in the same spot if you miss the flop completely, this bet makes perfect sense when you do connect with the flop. Let's look at another example. If you're not the pre-flop raiser and your opponent checks, check back even if you're in position. Remember, the pre-flop raiser who checks is probably trying to trap you, and you don't want to put yourself in a spot where you have to make a tough decision if they check raise your bet. By checking behind, you keep the pot small, take a free card that may improve your hand, and even if you don't improve on the turn, you can still bet in this spot if your opponent checks to you a second time. Okay, now if you raise pre-flop and your opponent bets into you on the flop, just call their bet instead of raising. Remember, a lot of bets here are weak leads when your opponent is looking for information. Okay, so if he's holding a smaller pair or a weaker ace, he's drawing very thin and has at most 3 outs against your hand. Give him a little rope. Let him hang himself. You can use those free chips and hope he bets again on the turn. If he checks the turn, you can always take the lead back and bet your hand for value now. What if your opponent raised pre-flop and then bets the flop? Well, since you're unsure of his hand, he could be making a standard C-bet, continuation bet, or he could have actually flopped a monster. Your best move is to call and reevaluate your hand on the turn. Again, if he has you crushed, you're only calling because you want to lose the minimum. And if you have him crushed, you're only calling so you can trap him and win the max. If your opponent checks the turn after you call, you should check behind and keep the pot small. Then if he bets the river, you can either call, raise, or fold, depending on how strong you think your hand really is. So when you have top pair, ace-queen, ace-9-3 board, be very careful. You want to trap your opponent to try to win the max, and you also, under the same token, want to bet a little bit less in case you're crushed.